I heard a priest say that Catholics who don't believe in the real presence just haven't thought it through. I think he's wrong, and here's why. Well, hi again. My name is Peter. I'm a parishioner at Mary Queen of the Apostles Parish in Salem, Massachusetts. This is my weekly reflection on the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. In Sunday's Gospel, from Mark chapter 6, Jesus is in his hometown. And while the people there are astonished at his teaching and his deeds, they take offense at him. And the Gospel tells us that Jesus was not able to perform any mighty deed there, and he was amazed at their lack of faith. Now, of course, a lack of faith or a strong faith, whether it's the Nazareans or ours, neither limits nor enables Jesus' power to perform any work. So this story, and its contrast to the stories of healings from last week's gospel, reveals something about the meaning of faith and its interaction with grace. So what do I mean by that? Jesus doesn't force healing upon us. We have to ask for it. To ask for his healing means that we have to trust him first. We have to trust that Jesus is who he says he is, and that he can and will do what he says he will do. Faith is not just accepting in our mind that something is true, but surrendering ourselves to God in trust, because he is God. His grace flows down to us and does something when we are filled with trust in him. Trust requires humility. When we don't trust God, we are actually filled with pride. We judge God and call God a liar. So his grace does not take effect in us. So God tests our faith, our trust, and our humility. Do we really trust him? And we often react negatively to the idea of being tested. Why does God test me? Well, first off, he's God, we're not. Second is, it's one thing to say we trust somebody. It's another to act with that trust. So how can this help us reflect on the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist? Back at the end of 2019, before the pandemic, Pew Research released results of a survey that indicated almost 70% of practicing Catholics don't believe in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. And I watched a homily the other day where the priest, and it wasn't Father Bob, said that those Catholics who don't believe in the real presence just haven't thought it through. And I think he's wrong. I don't think this has anything to do with accepting in our minds that the real presence is true after thinking it through. No, I think it has something to do with trust. And I don't mean trusting the church and whether the church is teaching the right thing. No, I think people doubt the real presence because they don't trust that receiving the Eucharist actually does anything. And if it does nothing, then how can Jesus be present? So I think we need to ask ourselves some questions like this. Does receiving the Eucharist actually change anything? Have I ever seen anything different happen because I received the Eucharist? What difference does it make? Is God really saving the world one morsel of bread and one drop of wine at a time? What if we could actually see the difference it makes when we receive the Eucharist? Would we trust God then? If we would we be like the Apostle Thomas, to whom Jesus said, "Blessed are those who believe but have not seen"? On the other hand, we might want to be like Thomas, who after seeing the risen Jesus proclaimed, "My Lord and my God." So when we worship at Mass this Sunday, whether in person or virtually, whether receiving communion or not, or performing a spiritual communion, consider joining me in prayer. Jesus, teach me to trust in you. Don't let me amaze you with my lack of faith. If you will it, let me see some way, however small, how receiving you in the Eucharist today makes a difference. I want to believe that your presence does something. May God bless you, and see you next week.